right. I like to start with this screen, and it's really about results and excuses. And what I invite you to do, and we've kind of already talked about it today, is to find a result. All I expect you to do is come away with one thing. One thing is more powerful than 10 things, because when you have 10 things, you do nothing. When you have one thing, you get it done. Right? So I invite you to come away with one result that you want for your business as we come through this. I also invite you to pay attention to when the excuses pop up. And they're going to sound like this. That would never work. She's smoking crack. This woman doesn't know jack about jack, right? That's what our brain says when we hear new information. Those excuses that pop up, I want you to write those down. Those are almost 10 times more valuable. And the reason that I have found them to be more valuable is the points that we have greatest resistance, the greatest amount of excuses popping up, oftentimes are our greatest opportunities. Okay, so if you can push aside the excuse and open up the door to that opportunity, you could have the best growth secret that you needed all year long. So whether you have excuses or results, use them to your advantage. So we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to go over the 5 rules. I'm going to talk about some of the mistakes that we make in our business. I promise you this is a different way of looking at business. It's still a smart way of looking at business, but it'll have you thinking about things differently. I'm also going to talk about being in business right now and the state of being an entrepreneur and why it's hard. Why it's hard, because it is hard. And then I'll share some case studies because you'll see I'm a lot more about actual things happening than I am about theory. And so everything that I've shared has been tried and true and put to test and gone through the fire and come back out and improved along the way. Let's start with the state of being an entrepreneur. How many people feel like this guy some days? Isn't that funny? Well, why is that? Well, there's a couple of things. Let's first talk about the small business as a whole. Small business as a whole, and the Chamber will understand this tremendously, but it's one of the most vibrant facets of the economy. Okay, there are more small businesses than there are Fortune 500s and Fortune 100s out there. We have the ability to affect an economy like you wouldn't believe. However, 90% of the small businesses are making under 6 figures. And there's a couple reasons why. And that's part of that hardness to business is if you get stuck in that under 6 figures, not by choice. And I've had clients want to be under 6 figures by choice, and I can explain that. But when you get there not by choice, it's a really hard place to be. And in order to really generate an income, I mean, who needs an income, right? Who would like to have a little retirement, go on vacation, do a little shopping, right? We need money in order to we need money in order to do that. But if you're in a small business under 6 figures, you're going to struggle every day to make that happen. This is from a testimony to the Senate by David Burton. Not really important who he is, but the 2 important facts that come out of his testimony are the fact that right now in our nation, first time in a very long time, we have more businesses exiting than entering. And that's really scary. But what's kind of exciting is that the new firms that are coming on and the small businesses, the people that are 1, 2, 10 people kind of businesses, represent the greatest opportunity for job growth. Fortune 500s aren't expanding job growth, right? They're still shedding jobs. So if we really want to be able to be a part of our economy and fuel that economy, we need to understand that we actually have a great responsibility to put people to work. There are a lot of great people, a lot of great talent out there that can be beneficial to our businesses. And what's fun about this is because so many people can become in business and can become a freelancer and can become a contractor, as small businesses, it keeps our business costs down. They're called micro temporary costs, MTCs, right? That is the key to being able to grow however you would like, using that accountant when you need that accountant, using that IT guy when you need it, that marketing firm, whatever that is for the work that you need, but not having long-term retainers, not having to have high overhead to do so. It keeps you nimble and keeps you being able to stay in business. Now, anybody know who Infusionsoft is? Have you heard of them before? Have you heard of Salesforce? Okay, same kind of company, major competitor. They did a survey among their business owners and they asked what the top challenges are. So, time to get everything done. Anybody have that one? Managing everything myself. We heard that today. Monies to invest in my ideas. Generating leads, we've heard that. Going leads into customers, we've heard that. Adding employees and marketing. Does anybody not have one of these challenges in their business? I'll let you know everybody has this challenge. That's why they're up on the board. You know, they don't have them all, they have at least one. And so it's really, what I want to encourage you to know is that this is normal. It's not that you're bad in business or a bad business person if you're experiencing one of these. It's about solving it, right, and solving the problem. When you look at, there's an entrepreneurial path that happens when you start your own business, and that first level is worker. And as I show this, the slide or the arrows underneath kind of represent the maximum earning potential at each stage. And I'm going to go into and tell you what these stages look like, because I know you'll hear some of them, because I heard some of them when you were talking. But what we want to do is understand that you are somewhere on this pipeline. You know, you're somewhere, and that's okay. The job that I have in a lot of ways is to help people move from worker to entrepreneur, because that's where stability is. Stability is not in the worker mode. Worker mode looks like this. I got to go out, chase the work, do the work, chase the work, do the work, chase the work, and our bank account looks like this, right? Anybody experience that? It's so much fun, right? I do not. I'm not a roller coaster individual. My husband is. But really, that's what this phase is. And a lot of times when we open up a business, we create a job for ourselves because we were good at something. Okay, we were good at being a dentistry, being an accountant, being an engineer, being whatever that was. We were good at something. And so that helped us lead into that creation of the business. The problem is that our first tendency is to create a job for ourselves. And in business, job stands for what? Just over broke. So we want to get out of this phase as quickly as we can. This is a building phase. It's a natural place to be. You could be in here for 1 to 3 years. You've been in it longer than 3 years, we got to talk, right? We want to get into the next phase, which is employer, because naturally, if you think about this, I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to serve more clients. If I serve more clients, I need employees. Okay? But the employee stage, and the reason why I call it employer and not manager or leader, is because we can become an employee before we learn how to manage and lead, right? And I kind of, the merry-go-round personifies this because it's a bit of like chasing fires. Chasing a fire, putting out a fire, chasing a fire, putting out a fire, talking to stuff, and suddenly you're spending more time HRing and putting out people's problems than you are doing the work. See, a worker puts their emphasis on the work. What makes them feel good is that I do good work, that I've served somebody, that I've helped somebody today. Does that make sense? An employer suddenly isn't doing the work anymore, but they're putting out all the fun fires and emergencies, and that doesn't sound like so much fun. Has anyone been in that stage for too long? I've had it in my first company. I had it, believe me, and I was like, what did I do? And why? How can I get out? Now, what gets people is they want to get off the merry-go-round, and they figure if they get off the merry-go-round, it'd be better to go back to the roller coaster. We don't want to go back. We want to move forward. When you move forward into this entrepreneur phase, there's a couple of mindset shifts that happen. Suddenly, your importance is not in the work, okay? Doing the work. Your importance is in building the business, right? Because as the owner of your business, as the lead department head, as whatever role that you have, the best thing that you can do is grow. But if you are serving one-to-one all the time, you're limited by what? What you can do, how many hours in the day. Anybody manage to get 26 hours? I got people that would talk to you for days, right? We only have 24 hours in the day. So we have to use our hours smarter, not to work harder. Working harder burns out. Then we really need money. We need money every day, but then we really need those massages, right? Because we're walking around, our shoulders are in our ears. So when you get to this entrepreneur phase, you see things just a little bit differently. And it's kind of that forest and tree expression. You know, you can't see the forest for the trees. The entrepreneur needs to see the forest and the trees. You need to be able to pull yourself out of it just enough to see that the clearing is 2 miles to the right. Okay, so this is a lot of what I'm going to share with you is how to pull yourself up just a bit so that you can see where the clearing is and see the path that you need to go really easy. But if you stay stuck in the forest, you never know which way to go. You're always second guessing yourself. Unless somebody's left some breadcrumbs. But we don't always have that in our lives, do we? A little bit about my entrepreneur journey. I told you I've kind of done it all. I started my first business in 2007, and it's kind of peeking through. I call it the accidental entrepreneur. And it was accidental because on Wednesday I found out I wasn't going to have a job on Friday. So by Monday, I opened up my own business. Lots of planning. Okay? But it was good times. And so we had work. In fact, within the first year, we were getting into multiple six figures. I was hiring my first staff. And that lasted until the wonderful 2008, 2009. Where kind of that little angry woman there. You know what's really funny? If you've ever ridden a business through being really down, I lost over 50% of my business. We were still six-figure, but chin, chin, chin. You don't feel sad. You're angry. You're mad, right? You're about to yell at everyone and anything because it was unfair. It felt very unfair. 2 years, I tried to grow that business back. I did everything that somebody told me to do. I went to seminars, I read books. I was like, what worked for you? I'm going to go do it. It didn't work. And I'll share with you why it didn't work. I was actually sitting in a conference in New York that I didn't have any business to be, and I had like $500 in the bank account. I just approved printing of letterhead. It was still 2009, 10, 11, letterhead business cards for a new logo, because a new logo, after all, is going to help me grow my business, right? So I'm sitting in this room, and at that time I had an interior design firm, and I'm in a room with 100 other firms who all just seemed to be making it. And I really kind of was pissed. It's like, I'm smart. Anybody smart? I work hard. It's not about working smart and working hard. Why am I not getting it? And so I kind of give myself a come to Jesus moment. I said, look, here it is. I'm not a quitter, but I'm ready to quit. I'm going to give it one more push. I'm going to get myself a coach, and I'm going to see what we can do. What we did was fabulous. Grew my business 150% in 6 months. That's quick. It spun my head at the time. I actually won an international business award from Mr. Red Sugar, so that guy right there, who's a multi-billionaire. Man buys franchises and sells franchises like you wouldn't believe. And he really showed me just how simple business really is. And that's, a lot of people ask me, what's the number one thing I need to learn? Number one thing you need to learn is business is really easy. You make it hard. When you own that, and it's humbling, believe me, when I owned the fact that I created every single problem in my business, it was a little bit of depressing. But the next thing you own is that if you created it, you can change it. And so if there's something in your business that you're not liking, look here first and see what it is that you can do to change it. Because that's really the source of power in the business, is you. I've had the opportunity to reinvent myself several times. And the first time was when we moved from Houston to Dallas. My mother-in-law has dementia. We wanted to be up here, help support my father-in-law, and be close to them. So I uprooted my interior design business, which is much like real estate, word o mouth, who you know, and moved it up to Dallas, where I knew no one. I had no prior clients. I didn't even have contractors that could do work for me. What do you think should have happened to my business? Gone up or gone down? I grew at 20%. That's not too shabby. And I lost all my staff in the process. Went from staff of 4 to me. Okay? What I'm going to share with you is why I gained business, not lost business. Today, it's really about reinventing. So it's your Biz Rules. And this is a very intentional business built upon these principles so that I can share these principles with others. So I told you it's not just about theory. I'm not into theory. I'll imagine with you all day long, and then I'll tell you how to mitigate those imaginings, But I'm really about results. It is about working smarter, not harder. So I want you to find where you can work smarter, not harder. And I'll give you a few tips along the way. There's this concept of slowing down to move faster. Slowing down seems very counterproductive. It doesn't feel like we're moving forward. But when you do things like you're doing today, you're investing in yourself. You're taking the time to get out of your world and slow down for a minute so that you can pick up what you need and move faster. That's really what growth is about. It's about spurts, take, regroup, spurts, regroup. It's about learning, mastering, learning and mastering. When you break it down to this little bitty process, it makes it really easy to get that 150% growth in 6 months. And I'll show you why that's not that crazy. The other thing that I'll do for you as we go through, and that's why I like to hear about what you're doing, is I try to give a little bit of customization. Because what makes this work for you is the ability to make it work for you. Just the fact that it worked for me in the way that I do things won't necessarily make it work for you unless I can show you how to customize it. Make sense? So it is all about you. Yay. I want you to be champions. I want every one of you to actually get what you said you needed at this table. That's why I'm saying pass those business cards. That's why I'm saying make those connections, meet with somebody. See the natural connections that you have so that we all are winners. Right? We're in it together. It is about, really the family. I wrote my newsletter this morning and I came across a quote that said, from Mark Cuban. He said, "There's no harder job than for me to be a good dad. It's not really important that I'm a good business person, because if my business fails, I can do it over, but I can't do over my family." Would you ever have thought Mark Cuban would say that? But that's it. You don't get a do-over on your life. You can change things, you can improve, you can grow, but you can't go back to yesterday, right? So really what I want you to do is have that strength in either your business or your position to where you can have that happy family, that you don't have to worry about doing something over with them. And it's about building that income. We all talked about, if it's shopping, if it's vacations. I put something out on Facebook. I was like, if you had more money, you would do what? Charity, travel, little luxuries, going and doing Pilates and yoga, not worrying about the expense. That's kind of crazy. But you see, you would have more freedom to do blank. All right, so let's get into the 5 rules of growth. So here they are. We're going to go through them, and I'm really going to spend the most time in understanding where the opportunity lies, because I want you to see where the opportunity lies in your own business, in your own world, but we'll hit all of those. So the first is release. I don't know if you can see, but this is 2 gymnasts on trapeze. Anybody love Cirque du Soleil? Man, the first time I went, I think I was standing in the hall and I was like, and one of the performance committees, and I was like, I know, it's amazing. It's pretty cool. I would love to think that I have the grace and balance to be able to do this, but I don't. But if you look at this, when you're watching a trapeze, what do they have to do in order to complete their motion, to be able to get to where they want to go? They have to let go, right? Releasing, before you can grow anything, before you can take on that workout, before you can take on that diet, before you can take on a financial budget, you have to release something, okay? So this could be in your business. It could be you have to release a client that's been fabulous up to today, but will only hold you back if you grow. That's a hard release. Same thing with an employee or a friend, right? You can do those tactfully. You can do those with love. You don't have to do them viciously, but sometimes those are the hard releases to do. You might have to release a belief. I am a horrible networker. Anybody ever think of that? Can I tell you, I hate networking. It is not my comfort zone. Could you tell that? Because I'm not going to let that belief stop me. Because my why is big enough that I'm not going to let that belief that I have in myself stop me. I'm actually an introvert. Yeah, I say that. But I actually am. So what happens if this trapeze artist has a hold of the bar that we're on, and a hold of the bar that they want to go to? What happens? They don't go anywhere. They don't go anywhere. Have you ever seen a business plateau? Or maybe they just kind of circle around the same $1,000. I talked to a business owner. She's like, man, one year I'm 120, one year I'm 122, one year I'm 118, right? It's because they're holding on too much to where they were. There's a book by Malcolm Goldsmith, and it's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Anybody read it? Okay, it's a study of successful people who can't do it again. Interesting. It doesn't make sense, right? Have you ever done that where you're like, man, I am a rock star and a half. I did this and I'm going to do it again, and you can't? The same thing with growth. What gets you to a certain level of growth in your organization, in your nonprofit, in your business, what gets you there won't be necessarily what will make you go forward. Okay, because there's different growth strategies to use at different times in your business. What works in year 1 won't work in year 7 because your business is more sophisticated, right? Make sense? Anybody have something in their mind that they need to release? You don't have to share it. Just, did you get something that you need to release? Mm-hmm. Good. Opportunity. This is really what it is. Business is nothing more than finding opportunity. Finding opportunity to serve, opportunity to connect, opportunity to solve a problem. Saw a quote from Google. It says, we don't need to ask our children what they want to be anymore. We need to ask them what problem they need to solve and then help them learn what it will take to do it. Can you imagine if we heard that? What problem are you going to solve? What do you need to learn to do it? We're all solving a problem. Beautiful skin, when somebody feels beautiful, they're worth $1 million. If I felt like junk here, I would know it in my soul, right? So everything's a value. So know these things when it comes to that. We're going to talk about 3 areas: the knowing your numbers, the finding ways that a client can say yes, and then choosing the right strategy. So if we get into here, here are the 7 figures to know in your business. Can y'all read? Can y'all see those way in the back? Okay. So there are 2 numbers that most people talk about when it comes to growing business that aren't on here: clients and revenue, or gross sales, right? Let's talk a little bit. So when it comes to these 7 numbers really are either about sales or marketing. Okay, now people get sales and marketing kind of confusing, right? So let me give you my definition. And I come from, know that I come from advertising agency world too. So, you know, it's really easy for me, but the whole goal of marketing in the world of a small business is to generate a lead, interest. Somebody saying, I need some more information. Once they're calling you or emailing you, they become a lead. Until then, if you heard the term, they're suspects. They suspect you might be able to do something, but they're not quite sure, right? That's why the whole conversation of having to say the same thing over and over and over to people, especially if you do a lot of networking, you can get a little sick and tired of hearing yourself talk, right? You know, one of the best things I ever heard is like somebody says, you know, I've always been asked, when do I have to stop saying something to my team, to my children, to my employees, to people that should know what it is that I do? And the response was, you know that time that you get when you feel like, if I have to say this one more time, I'm going to puke? You're just scratching the iceberg. So it's not about you, it's about them. Okay, so it has to be consistent, and you have to always be saying it, and you almost have to be screaming it from the rooftops in a very nice and friendly way, not pushy, but you have to be consistent in that message, because when you're not, that's when people don't remember you. Remember my friend that didn't show up for 6 months? Known him for 4 years. Oh. Yeah, we ain't know that. So we're going to talk a little bit about these. I'm actually going to go into them fairly quickly since we have the time. So the reason that it's not about clients is because clients is the end equation, right? If it's sponsorships, think about this. It's the end equation, the ending part. Really what it's about is about leads and converting. Most people say they don't have enough clients. But what I have to look at in their business is, do they have enough leads, and how well do they convert? Because imagine if I could go in your business and double your conversion rate, and you didn't have to spend $1 more on marketing. Wouldn't that be impressive? But when you think it's about clients, what do you want to go do? Get more clients. Go spend more money, go to more networking meetings, do more, right? Work hard. So you have to track these 2. Do you track them, a realtor? Realtors are usually pretty good.
I make an attempt to.
Okay, and it's a process, right? Because it's not very sexy, it's not very fun, but you do have to track your leads, and especially when I have new clients coming in, I can tell you hardly anyone tracks their leads. So if you get nothing more than this, track your leads. Track how many calls, how many emails, how many people walk in your door. because that knowledge is power. When you look at that and you need more clients and you can see, okay, how many people walked into my store today? How many people booked a service? 1 for 1, hot dog. And then I need more leads, right? If it's 1 in 4, man, I can quadruple my clients just by being better at sales or better at questions or better at doing things. Does that make sense? So leads is nothing more. If you had nothing more than, I'll show you, do you see my little chick chart? I consider you a lead at this moment. I was a chick chart. I was tracking you. I put in your classification so that I understand how well I do, right? It doesn't have to be any more complicated than a notebook that's next to your computer or by the cash register, right? It's just a matter of tracking it so that you have information. When you know this, this is power, right? When you come, that one's for a little, okay, I'm going to do this. I have to go backwards here. So when it comes to clients, then you start talking about average sale times number of purchases. That generates revenue. So if you're telling me you need more sales, I have to ask, how much does your client purchase? So for our waxer, massage therapist, Candy, think about this. Somebody comes and books a service, do they get an add-on? Do they buy one piece, one snow cone or the whole truck? That's important things to know. Because then if you knew that you could grow your business by 20% just by getting them to buy something more while they were there, when you're at an event, how many more events are you getting booked for?
My goal is 1.
Okay, that's a way to double your business. Because the hardest thing, the thing that you spend the most money on is to get that client, isn't it? But if all you're thinking about is that next client, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Okay, if your business, and here's the thing with realty, with design, with construction, with some of the bigger ticket items, your purchase cycle is longer. Your real estate's 3 to 5 years, 3 to 7, 5 to 7 in there, depending on the market. That's a long time. So the chances that somebody's going to purchase from you again in that year is really low. So you have to focus on average sale, making sure that one sale is worth every cent and that you're not leaving money on the table. Let me preface this. Not leaving money on the table doesn't mean that you're taking advantage of your client. It means that you're serving your client completely. Because you're a fool to think they only have one problem. Right? I have 99 problems. Right? We do. We have problems. Your clients have problems. So let me give an example here. Sponsorship. Okay? What's a business's problem? Exposure, right? Word out. So if there is benefit, exposure benefit, imagine what that would do. There's benefit that you can build into your product, and sometimes it's by answering a need that you just didn't understand you could fix. Okay, is that helpful? Okay. The next part, the next 2 numbers that we're going to talk about is lifetime value of a customer and cost of acquisition. These tend to be the 2 numbers people don't know the most about. So the lifetime value of a client talks about how often they purchase from you, how long are they a client, and how much do they spend when they do purchase. Okay? So if a client is client 1, and purchases from us 3 times a year, and they stay with us for 4 years, church, they make a donation. They tithe to you 4 times a year, and they stay with you for 3 years. That's their lifetime value when it comes from a monetary standpoint. When you know how much your clients are worth to you, you can actually make better marketing choices. And the reason you can make better marketing choices is because you understand this. The cost of client acquisition is I'll keep it simple for you. Simple is just the sheer amount of money you spend in marketing. If you took that sheer amount of money and divided it by how many clients you got, you would get your cost of client acquisition. Okay? The object is that our cost of client acquisition isn't 0, is as effectively low as it can be to maximize lifetime value. It's kind of a relationship quotient here, and I'll show you why this is important. Okay, enough math. Well, almost enough math. But I had to show you those 7 numbers. Because the things that we're scared of the most in our business is the math. But the math is what determines the health of your business, right? Whether you're growing or not growing. When we get into this, what I need you to understand is that there's value in 1%. Does anyone here not think that you can, or let me do this. How many people in the room think that you could grow your business 1% in the next 60 to 90 days? How many of you are? Okay, there's some people, but not everyone. There's a reason for that, because we're looking for big, right? We want big. We don't get a gold star for 1%. Nobody pats us on the back. They go, oh, good for you, right? When we understand the true value of 1% is really where we start to be able to get the power in our business. So if we took these 7 numbers, and this is a 7-figure calculator, and it's actually, you've got this little sheet, number 1. If you want the Excel version of this, so you can do your own math on your business, you just check that off and give me your email and I'll let you know that. But basically, if you took each of those 7 numbers that we talked about and increased each number by 1%, because we said 1% was easy, right? You would have a 15%, almost 15% increase in your business, in your results for the year. Would that be something to celebrate? Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? That's why 1% is huge. See, you're not looking for these big leaps and bounds. You're looking for the little small changes that you can implement today, tomorrow, and next month that actually impact. Because that's what gives you the leaps and bounds. The leaps and bounds is what makes it hard. But if you could do one thing in your business every day to grow, how easy would it be to get the results you're looking for? Let me give you a case study. So this is from a relationship coach. She was 6 months into her business. She basically would help couples avoid divorce. So spend 3 months working with her. She had a 100% success rate of helping her clients avoid divorce. Anybody been through a divorce? Know how much they cost? Just in money? I'm not talking about the stress, the emotional part of it. Just in money. They cost a lot of money. So she came in going, I need more clients. Like I said, everybody feels like they need more clients. And we said, okay, let's look at your numbers through the 7-figure calculator. Well, she was getting 22 leads over 6 months. She was converting them at a 73% rate, and that generated 16 clients. Is 73% a rock star? Is that great or bad? It's fabulous. It's really good. 100% conversion means you need to increase your pricing. Right? You're working too hard. Okay? Just gonna know. She was charging her clients on average $1,400, and sometimes they might buy a little like home study program that she would have with them. So she was just making $1,400 per client, and she was spending $1,250 per client to get them into her business. What would happen if I gave her more clients? You ever find somebody that's so busy in their business but isn't making any money? These are the numbers that are out of whack. Because her cost of client acquisition in relationship to her lifetime value was $170-some odd dollars. That's not including any operations. That's just talking about the money she's spending in marketing. She's losing money on every single client, and she wants more. Okay? Sometimes people ask for stuff and it's not what they need, right? Because they don't really understand the problem that they have. So when we did her 6-figure plan, and when you get the calculator, what you'll see is there's actually a couple of columns that say if it was 10% in each number, 50%, and 100%, so you can see ranges there. But there's a column in there you can kind of say, this is what I feel comfortable with. So in working with her, I said, okay, I want you to maintain the number of leads that you're getting per month. I want you to add 2 more leads per month. Is that an easy thing to do? Pretty easy. Actually, I'm going to have her conversion rate come down, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. I had her double her price. At $3,000, she's still saving people a lot of money. It's still a good value, especially at a 100% success rate, right? And then we're going to give them another reason to buy. Because 10 years of problems that led to a divorce aren't fully solved in 3 months. You know, people want lasting efforts. You know, if they're going to make an investment in you and in themselves, don't you want them to have a long-term investment? You don't want them to come back and say, man, it worked for 3 months, but man, after that, it was junk, right? We want to give them another reason to say yes. So we're going to do that in her business in the form of kind of a maintenance. I'm not even messing with her marketing. because that's what she knows how to do right now. But I just changed the equation. We grew, that plan is a 439% growth. Was there any part of that plan that sounded complicated? So why did our conversion drop? Because any time price goes up, conversion will drop. Most people freak out about pricing going up. Pricing is here, not your client. It always is. It's about your ability to communicate the value. But chances are, when you do your pricing increase, if that's asking for a higher dollar amount for a sponsorship, if it's asking for a higher give, chances are what you lose will not outweigh what you gain. You actually have to ask close to a 300 or 400 times percentage rate for somebody to really balk and you start losing money. Okay, that's a statistic. I didn't make it up. But you can see that has a huge impact. That gets her into a 6-figure business without a whole lot of work. So she is a rock star, so she's going to go down. Every business, I have to say about conversion rate, every business has a different price point. Every business has a different conversion rate. When you are a smaller ticket item, it's very possible for you to have a higher conversion rate. My conversion rate is 30%. That's actually average for my industry. So you have to understand conversion rate and what's good for you, but if you're not tracking it, you never know what's good for you. So you can't judge yourself against her 60% if you're asking people to spend $5,000. You know? If, you know, how much would a snow cone be?
Baby is 125.
125. Who doesn't have $1.25 in their pocket? What kid doesn't have $1.25? Sometimes they don't, but you know what I mean? It's an easy sale. So if they're walking up to her truck, they should be buying it. Right. Shouldn't be any question, right? I would expect your conversion to be high. Makes sense? But a realtor would not. Do you know what your conversion rate is? No. So usually it's about a 1 in 4 in real estate. 1 in 4, 2 in 4. It just depends on your relationships. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? Do you maybe see a way that you could grow your business that you didn't come in here thinking you could do? That's my job. Okay, finding ways for a client to say yes. And I've got to speed up a little bit. But when you're looking at it, there are actually more than one way to have a client say yes. The enrollment process, that initial sale, needs to be about ease. Anybody have a poor fitting client, a bad client experience in your life? Okay? When you have too many of those, what do you want to do? You want to shut the doors? You want to run, right? You see a client come, you're like, no! Really interesting thing that we do. When we have enough bad situations happen, negatives, no's, whatever that is, we start wanting to put up barriers. We start wanting to have our clients prove themselves to us. In doing so, we're sending the good clients out the door. I don't have time for that. That's not what they're in for. Have you ever done that with somebody else? You're like, man, I was going to spend money with you. You made it so hard you even called me for 5 days. I'm ready to move. I'm going to go with Joe down the street. I don't like him as much, but hey, you return my call. Okay? We have to keep this at an ease level. And when you have good marketing, your marketing should be qualifying people. It should be speaking to people in such a way that they go, that is me. That is so me. Because once you've done that, you've gotten past like the 75% hurdle. And once they call you, you're on the short list. You at least know there is something about what you've been saying, how you've been communicating your message, that says they're a good fit. So you've got to make the rest easy. Because if not, they're going down the street. The other part, if you think about this, how many of you could pop open your phones, go to Amazon, and spend $500 in the next 30 seconds? Do you see how easy they made it to buy? How many of you buy more because it's easy? We spend way too much money on videos. So you can see there's lots of other ways that you can have your clients say yes. Remember I talked about the problem? And everybody's got 99 of them? How can you solve the next problem? So if it's an initial loan, how else can you serve them? What's their next problem going to be? You know, because then you can know, you can identify when you need to contact them, how you need to serve them, and how to serve that relationship to align you with that need. Have you ever thought about that? How many strategies? Everybody wants to know what's the best strategy. There's a ton of them. They all work. The reason they all work is because they work for the individual. There are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself when you're looking at your marketing. Is it congruent with our client? Okay? If your client isn't on Facebook, and there are a lot of people not on Facebook, should you be? Okay? If your client is on Facebook, should you? And the other part to think about it is the whole job of marketing is a disruption. Okay? We all have an amazingly busy life. Our job is to disrupt our ideal client in a way to say, I got you. I can take care of that. So they might be on Facebook, but are they actually looking for you and looking to solve a problem when they are on Facebook, or are they looking for a distraction? There's certain businesses, doctors, realtors, probably massage services, to where people are asking other people for recommendations, right? My neighborhood's huge on it. I need a plumber. And we don't go to the phone book, we go to Facebook. Okay, so you really have to keep a really honest analysis of your client and why they are where they are, and then be where they are so that you can disrupt them. The other part is you need to make sure it's congruent with you. If you have to learn, okay, to be good at something, which I'm not saying don't do that because that's how we improve, but if you have to learn it, you've just taken any short-term strategy and made it a long-term strategy, right? Networking really works. It's one of the shortest-term strategies you can do. But if you have to learn how to be a good networker first, it's going to take longer for you. Does that make sense? So a lot of times we'll adopt a strategy thinking, oh, it's going to bring in business tomorrow. But we've adopted a long-term strategy and hoped for a short-term result. That's one of the biggest things I see in businesses. And so there are certain things like, do you need a website to sell? Does it help later on? Yes, but I'm talking about day one. Can you make a sell without a website? Can you make a sell without a business card?
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? Yet the 2 big things I hear people say on why they haven't sold yet, well, I'm working on my website. Okay, we'll come back in 6 months when you're done with that. Do you see what I mean? You can still work on it, just don't expect it to give you a result today. So you gotta be honest with yourself. It's short, medium, or long term. There's lots of tools that we share that it's just about making it easy. When you track things, no matter how simple or how difficult you make it, if you're an Excel spreadsheet queen or not, you have more knowledge and you can do more in your business. Leveraging. Another reason people say they can't grow is I have no money. Just because you have no money in your bank doesn't mean you don't have any money. I mean, we've heard loans, right? We've heard grants and loans down here too. There's people ready to give money. But there's also this thing called sweat equity partnerships. Okay, have you ever considered those or know what those are?
No.
Okay, so all of us have some supplier. Okay, let's think about it. If it's a loan, there's somebody providing that loan, right? There's somebody backing that loan. If it was a landscape, there's somebody providing the landscape bricks, the paved stone. That's a major company, right? There's somebody that you buy product from, okay, that is much, much larger than you are. They have money. They are looking for ways to spend their money, especially in partnerships that help their brand have a greater reach. So when you go to those people and say, I got the marketing idea for you. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how it's going to be done. I'm going to take care of all the details. I'm going to provide the sweat. You provide the money. Example, house cleaning service. Little mom and pop gets a landscaper, maybe gets a yard service, maybe gets a dry cleaner to pay for the little door hangers. Their ads on the back pay for it. She gets all the front. Has she paid anything? Nope. But she's now got 1,000 marketing pieces that she can hand out and drum up business for everyone. That's what sweat equity is. So don't let the fact that your bank account is low tell you you can't. Because you can if you're willing to find the solution. Success, though, here's what I got to get you to go. Most people think success is like that rocket. I think we've got enough people with enough experience in the room to know that success is not like that rocket, right? Here's the normality of it. Business is like this. You arrive at initial wave. Whee! We're so good. Look, we got clients. We're loving it. And then you hit that first little pitfall of regression, okay? And you might come back up from it, and you hit it again. So your pitfall and regression is we put together that sponsorship committee and it didn't work. You're doing it again though, because you've learned. You found a better partner, right? So you're coming back up. The whole goal that I have is really to get people out of here and to keep those valleys from being too low. It's not the fact that you don't reach them. It's just how do you get out of them? How do you bounce back higher? Because everybody goes through it because you're learning. Nobody comes and teaches us how to have a business. Nobody comes and teaches us how to run a nonprofit. You can go take classes somewhere, but really you're having on-the-job training. So why do we have the expectation that it's going to be perfect? So really in the experiment, evaluate, and execute, this is the mad scientist. If you think of Albert Einstein, that's who I always have in my thing. If it didn't work once, doesn't mean don't try it again. It means take what you've learned, try it again. If you try it 4 or 5 times and it doesn't work, all right, maybe you can quit. But Brad Sugars was running a radio ad for dog food. Ooh, exciting, right? Tried 289 different ads before he locked in on the one that every time he rang it generated $14,000 in his business. How many of you would try that something, one message, 289 times? Remember I said the problem in our business is us? But savor the success, the last rule, is really about celebrating more of what you want to see. Anybody in here love cheering on their sports team? College football, professional football? How many of you cheer on your own successes as much as you cheer them on? People you've never met. We have to celebrate our own successes because if we don't, then it only ever feels like work. It only ever feels like effort. It only ever feels like it's not working. But when you take the silliest things, anybody ever given themselves a salesperson of the month award? I have. It's kind of fun. I look forward to it again, right? You laugh, but that's what it does for you. It builds that endorphin, the good stuff in our brain. It tells us to do it again. So I do invite you to take that next step. There's a couple of things that I've handed out for you if you're interested, and I can talk to you after about them. But grab the 7-figure calculator at the very least and leave that for me so that I can get it to you. Know that it's not about your clients. It's not about your competition. It's really about you. And your job in business and then what you do for somebody else is about being the best you that you can be. You just have to make sure you stay out of crisis mode. And then you have to, follow this rule. There's my Albert Einstein for you. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. So do something different. Okay? So thanks, guys. I'm happy to be with you here today. I've loved meeting with you. I'm here for a good 30 minutes or so if you've got questions or anything like that.
We have a light panel.
Yeah.
Have her stand up and introduce herself real quick.
Hi, I'm Sonia Williams. I actually do quite a few things. I have a tax business, I have a marketing business, etc., etc. I do all that. Funny part is how I discovered this is because Facebook always has this little thing that says, hey, your friends are planning on doing this today. And it was about 12 o'clock when I seen it, and I text my friend at the end. I was like, hey, are you ready? Yes, I'm fine. That's what I got here. But it's funny how Facebook does things, but it's also scary. A lot of times if you Google something, you go back and you see a lot of it because you Google it, so they zoom in on it. Now you see it.
Yeah. Big Brother is never more evident, but it's always been there.
Right.
You've always been tracked. So, anybody have any questions? It is 1 o'clock, so if you do need to go, and I give you permission to do that, I want to respect your time. But if you have any questions,
Please join